This podcast is brought to you by Enlightening Learners Academic Coaching and Tutoring Service.
In this presentation, you're going to learn how to multiply integers. One of the things I wanted to show you is this little visual image of the multiplication triangle. Triangle has three sides. We're going to put a plus sign and two negative signs. The reason why we do that is when we're multiplying and a positive times a negative. Positive times a negative, it's going to yield a negative. A negative times a negative is going to yield a positive. And a negative times a positive is going to yield a negative. So it's an easy visual to remember. And if you're multiplying three different numbers, a negative times a negative times a negative times a negative, excuse me, that's four numbers. Negative times a negative is a positive. A positive then times a negative would get me a negative. And finally, a negative times a negative would get me a positive. When you're multiplying fractions, you multiply straight across. The first thing you want to do is see if you can simplify. Since nothing can be cross-reduced, 3 can't go into 5 and 2 can't go into 7, we multiply straight across. 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 7 is 21. Same idea applies if we're multiplying a negative 2 over 4 times 12 over 22. These numbers can get quite large if we don't see we can reduce first. So I can reduce a 2 and 22, and that's going to become a 1 and 11. 2 times 11 gets me 22. And I also know that a 4 can go into 12. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 4 divided by 12 is 3. Now that I've done that, I can say 1 times 3 is a 3. Don't forget that there's a negative sign out there. And 1 times 11 is 11. My answer can be reduced to negative 3 over 11. Remember that when we use our multiplication triangle, we've got a positive, a negative, and a negative in each corner. This is a negative times a positive. A negative times a positive is going to give me a negative.